welcome back. This month, December, when the man in red is flying through the skies, I decided to do my top 10 alien films. I know this is going to be shocking. This is a shocker, but there is no sign of signs anywhere on this list. You know, I love M. Night. For this list, I'm going to be focusing on monster design because we all have our own ideas about what aliens might look like. This is my top 10, as always. Please let me know what your top 10 are in the comments below. Number 10 is Alien from 1979, directed by Ridley Scott and starring Sigourney Weaver as our final girl, Ripley. The late 70s were flush with final girls. Now, hear me out, because you're all like, number 10, that should be number 1. Just hear me out, hear me out. The reason why this is at the bottom is because it's been sort of overdone for me. Like, I've seen it so many times. I've seen allusions to it so many times. But that said, it was certainly groundbreaking when it came out. It's considered one of the most influential science fiction films of all times. You all know this story. A space crew is returning to Earth when they receive a transmission, and it's their protocol that they have to go check it out. The monster design is exceptional in this movie, especially when you consider it's 1979. I mean, the face hugger, come on. Come on, that is the stuff nightmares are made of. And the chest buster has become iconic. And I can't hate on a film where the final girl makes sure to save the cat. Number 9 is The Thing from 1982, directed by John Carpenter and starring a very heavily bearded Kurt Russell. So this movie begins with this poor little puppy wuppy being mercilessly hunted by a Norwegian helicopter that's chasing the dog toward this American research station in Antarctica. The helicopter crashes, and so the Americans are like, what the heck's going on? And they go to the Norwegian outpost to see what's what. And they uncover data about beings that could take over all Earth life in a matter of years. Now, this cute little puppy wuppy morphs into this dog thing, this monster. And the monster design is cool. But the real tension of this film is the American research station, how the scientists and other staff there all turn on each other, trying to figure out who's been infected. And you know the godmother loves this. I love when groups of people are put together and we have to see how they kind of shake out, right? And people, hold on to your seats, because it is only a matter of time before we are all infected. Number 8 is my controversial pick. You know, I always have to have one. And this is only controversial if you've gotten over the fact that Aliens is at the number 10 slot. Maybe that's your controversy, and that's fine. Talk about it in the comments. I'm happy to discuss it with you. But number 8 is A Quiet Place from 2018, directed by John Krasinski and starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski. And I say it's controversial because this film is sort of fallen out of favor recently. But when I saw it in the theaters, and I actually got up off my chair and went into the theater to see it, it was a quiet place. Like, people were afraid to make noise as they were watching it. Nobody was eating popcorn. Nobody was crunkling candy boxes. Nobody got up and went to the bathroom. I have never had a movie experience like that. No one was on their phone. I've never experienced anything like that, where it was just a complete hush. It was amazing. Also, when I saw it, so I loved it and I loved that experience. And then I walked away saying, you know what? This has to be it. There can be absolutely no sequels. I loved the ending. It ended perfectly. We had not one, but 2 final girls. So I was very adamant about that until it was announced that Cillian Murphy would lead part 2. And I saw the trailers and I got kind of tingly feelings all about it and about him. And I kind of shut up a little bit about it. But anyway, this story is about an alien invasion of sightless aliens that respond to sound, hence the title, and hence the reason why people weren't making any noise in the theater. I do have some bones to pick with the story. I mean, who on earth, or on an alien inhabited Earth would become pregnant, like in this world, seriously. But then we did have that amazing childbirth scene where oh my God, that was crazy. The monster design in this one, like, it was okay. It was good. I didn't hate it. They were formidable enough, but nothing too impressive. The corn silo scene, though, was fab. And as someone who is, I am profoundly deaf. When you set me up to all those machines and test me, I do enjoy deaf representation in films. Number 7 is The Mist from 2007, directed by Frank Darabont and starring my boyfriend, Thomas Jane. So, as with all movies that are based on Stephen King books, I read the novella first. I always do. And man, the first time I saw this, I was taken out by the ending. Oh, Lord, that ending hit me. And I know it hit a lot of you too. But okay, so the basic story here is that there's a storm, and our main character, David, takes his son and his neighbor slash enemy, he's got like this frenemy enemy neighbor, into town for supplies. There's this thick, horrible mist everywhere. And when they arrive at the store, they soon learn that they are trapped inside the store as there are monsters in the mist. And the store is this crazy microcosm of society. We would expect no less from Uncle Stevie. Most notably, there is Mrs. Carmody, who's played by Marcia Gay Harden, and she's a religious nutter. And she soon gathers a group, like she gets this cult going within the store. And again, the godmother loves this. I love it. I love this movie. It has all the items, when I have my little checklist of horror movies, this has a lot of those items that I check off. And it is a really intense movie. The real issue is that the monster design is sorely lacking in this film. The monsters, when you see them, are not scary. At times, they're kind of silly. The real terror occurs when the monsters are working from within the mist, when you're not seeing them, but you're seeing people get like sucked into the mist, and then they spit out body parts back or whatever. That's where it's terrifying. It's like Jaws, where Jaws was scarier beneath the water. And I wish they had put a little more effort into the monster design, or really held off at times and not shown us them as clearly as they did. So one thing I want to point out is important, but it's a spoiler. So if you have not watched this and you don't know the ending, jump to my number 6 choice, and I'll put up my spoiler meat now. Okay, so my one thing I want to point out is Mrs. Carmody, as freaking crazy as she is, she's right. The evil ends when the boy dies. Number 6 is my nostalgia pick, Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. And yes, I know Aliens is only a year later, but this is my nostalgia pick. Invasion of the Body Snatchers was directed by Philip Kaufman and starring Donald Sutherland and a million celebrities. And it's about an alien race that abandons its dying planet to take the form of pink flowers here on Earth. So yeah, there's a little bit of a leaning into, the Little Shop of Horrors here. There's also a Stepford Wives vibe amongst the people who were body snatched. So Donald Sutherland, he's a horrible mustache, as he does in all 70s movies. Like, if I had a time machine, I would go back and rectify that. That mustache is not it. But anyway, he's a detective, and he's kind of like fancy schmancy sophisticated because he goes to book parties and he eats with chopsticks. But he also drives a car with a completely broken windshield that gives me so much anxiety when I watch this film. The windshield actually gives me more anxiety than the aliens, because he drives around with this broken windshield and he's always talking to the passenger beside him and not looking through the broken windshield. And I'm like, something's gonna happen. Anyway, in terms of monster design, I like this gloopy cocooning of bodies, that kind of like wet spider webby substance. I like it. In this film, we have a lot of 1970s social fears popping up of like women's lib and the disintegration of nuclear family. So that's cool. We also have Leonard Nimoy playing a psychiatrist who absolutely sucks. He's the worst. And we have the absolute hotness that is Jeff Goldblum. Number 5, and I'm kind of going out on a limb here. Maybe this was my controversial ones. I know a lot of you did not appreciate this film, but number 5 is Arcadian from 2024, directed by Benjamin Brewer and starring Nicolas Cage. In this, Cage is he's kind of subdued. It's a subdued Cage, which I appreciate. He's a single father of 2 boys in a post-apocalyptic world. They have to protect themselves from these creatures that come in the night. I know we've seen it. We've seen this. I know it's been done, but I still liked it. I'm not going to apologize. Anyway, there's this tension between the 2 brothers because the one is really like this physical specimen guy, and the other one's really intellectual. Post-apocalyptic life is really all that they know in this struggle for survival. One thing I really appreciated about this film, their haircuts were an absolute mess. You know, sometimes you watch a post-apocalyptic film, you know, a film that's supposed to take place after life's been pretty much killed out except for a few people, and these people are all coiffed, and you're like, who's doing your hair? That doesn't make any sense. Those of us who lived through COVID, like, we know what it kind of looks like when there's nobody around to really help you with your, you know, fashion sense. And I would like to take a moment to apologize to my son for giving him the worst fade in the world during COVID. Anyway, the creatures in this film were smart and interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about the fire wheel, and you can let me know in the comments below how you felt about that one. I was like, I don't know. But the scene where the intellectual son sort of leaves himself as bait sitting in the chair, and that other creature is like trying to probe him, like, that was really well done. And I watched, like, I got really scared and really anxious. It really worked on me. We don't know whether the creatures are the actual aliens that caused the apocalypse or whether they were left behind by the aliens. That's really never clarified, but I enjoyed this film. Number 4 is The Faculty from 1998, and this movie is so 90s. It's so 1990s. This was directed by Robert Rodriguez and starring my very own Joshua Hartnett. Again, until he signs that restraining order, he's my very own Joshua Hartnett. And there are a ton of big stars in this movie. Big stars. So in this film, we're in high school, y'all, and it is as dangerous and crazy and kooky as you remember, only now there's aliens. So what we're doing is we're looking at a cephaloid-like creature in a science lab, and our science teacher is Jonathan Stewart. What's more fun than that? Only this creature we're looking at might be controlling all the teachers. And you know, when you were in high school, like, we all thought the teachers were super weird, but they're super menacing in this film. The only thing that will save the world is to find and kill the alien queen. And you see the twist coming. You know what's going to happen, but it's still a super fun ride. The monster design's good, but what's even better, what I love about this film is how the dark humor is mixed in with the tension and the horror. It is a fun ride. Highly recommended. Number 3 is Nope from 2022, directed by Jordan Peele. And this is probably my favorite Jordan Peele film. And I know that's not a popular opinion, but it is. I'm just going to stand by it. And it's starring Daniel Kaluuya. And I'm sorry, Daniel, if I mispronounced your last name. I apologize. Nope is a beautiful film. It's just beautiful to watch. It's about a family that raises and trains horses for movies, but aliens are after their horses. It's tense, it's funny, it's wonderful. And my favorite part is the Western theme park and the backstory of Stephen Yeun's character. But, you know, full disclosure, I love Stephen Yeun in all, like, you could put him in anything and I'll watch the hell out of it. I don't care. He's amazing. He's awesome. I love him. I will watch him in anything. The monster design is really unique here, and there is a scene. I don't want to give it away for anyone who has not seen it, but there is a scene that just freaks people out. Like if you go on Reddit threads and you talk about Nope, people always mention this one scene and just how it scarred them. So just be prepared for that. It's disturbing. But again, Nope is just a gorgeous, gorgeous film. And if you have not seen it, what are you doing? Go watch it. Number 2 is The Block Island Sound from 2020, directed by Kevin McManus and starring Chris Sheffield. And this one kind of toggles back and forth for me between number 2 and number 1. Some days this is a number 1. I really love this movie. It's an environmental horror film in which there are electromagnetic disturbances that cause strange behavior in the fishermen and disappearance. People disappear, they come back. In this film, the monster design kind of isn't. We see suggestions. We see people being pulled upwards into the sky, but that's about it. We don't confront the monster. I appreciate that choice. And as I said, I wish The Mist had done more of that. I appreciate that choice in this film. I feel like it worked for this film and for what this film was trying to do. The ending of this film just ties everything together in such a satisfying way. This is very much a character-driven film. And as I said, the ending is really powerful. Number 1. No One Will Save You from 2023, directed by Brian Duffield and starring Caitlin Dever, who carries this film. She's basically really the only person we see for the most part. There's other people kind of in and out, but it's her movie. And there's no dialogue, with the exception of 3 words, which has a powerful effect. The 3 words carry a lot of meaning because they're the only words spoken in the film. It's not trite. It's so well done. It's amazing. So our main character is Bryn, and she's shunned by her community. And I really love what really nailed this for me and made this a number 1 film for me is that they didn't shy away from Bryn's participation in her own trauma. They didn't try to go, oh, but it was an accident and nobody really understands her. And if they just give her a chance, it's like, no, she caused this. She's a problem. And I really like that they made that a piece of this film because it's sort of cliched and done too much where it's like, oh no, she was just a child. She didn't know it was an accident. This is in your face. So because she has no community, she develops her own community by building these little fantasy fake homes inside her house. Like she has this model community set up. And you're not really sure when this takes place. There's sort of a mix of, home phones, but also cell phones. And sometimes it looks 1950s and sometimes it looks 1980s and sometimes it looks 1990s. You're not really sure. And this film also is a mix of genres. We have the Gothic because we have the damsel in distress. We have home invasion. And then we have science fiction. We have aliens. The monster design is impressive in this film. The monsters grow larger and scarier as the film goes on. This film is really unique. It's not something you've seen before. And that's why it's my number 1. Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for watching my top 10s of 2024. The Godmother wishes you all a happy and safe 2025, and I will be back with some more lists. So if you don't want to miss those, hit that subscribe button.